the third installment of Saturn Medicine, and we are talking about Saturn Return. So I'm going to just start with the slides that I'm going to share. Bear with me. Share on Zoom. It's like, who am I? Where am I? What's happening? Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull my slides up for this. This helps me to stay focused. So just bear with me. All right. So these are our slides just for some points for us to talk about as we move forward. Now, if you haven't been on the entire series, I have a link down here for our Saturn Medicine series, which includes this first part of each of the workshops that are streamed live in public for free on YouTube. And then after we finish the information portion of the workshop, I close the live stream, and those of you who are part of the full series, the paid part of the series, can come on into the Zoom room with the link that you got when you signed up, or this morning actually for this one. And we'll continue our deeper discussion there. And you can, of course, join us if you want. You'll get all of the private recordings from the other two in this series as well. And those of you who are second Saturn Return, you can also, there's a place where you can join for the follow-on conversations that we'll be having through August and September about second Saturn Return. And those will all be private. So that's my commercial for what we're doing here and where we're going with this. So welcome to Saturn Medicine Part 3. As I said, we're doing Saturn Medicine, we're doing Saturn Return in Part 3. So what is Saturn Return? If you saw my little experimental thing with the whiteboard, my experimental video, you're probably familiar with this little pie chart here. Basically, Saturn is a placement in your birth chart, your astrological and your human design birth chart, and it has a certain theme. In the second workshop, we talked about how to dive into your Saturn theme by in your human design chart and your astrology chart by looking at it in different ways. For instance, like looking at the gate that where Saturn is and what gate it is in your human design chart and what that means for you. And then looking at that in relationship to Jupiter. So if you're just wanting to dive deeper into that, you can go back to the second one in this series and just look and watch that to kind of understand what that's about. But on your astrological chart and on your birth chart, you will see that little glyph that I don't have on here, but it looks like an H with a cross on top. And that is the placement of Saturn, which indicates the themes of Saturn that you are sort of imprinted with at the time of your birth. And of course, on the human design chart, there's a design side, an unconscious imprint as well. Mostly in this series, we've been talking about the conscious birth imprint of Saturn and those themes. So when you have a Saturn return, that placement of Saturn in your chart returns to the place that it was at the time of your birth, or that it was at your birth. So that happens approximately every 30 years. So at around 28 to 30, 32, you're going to start to feel this theme come into play. This imprint of these themes of challenges and these themes that are moving you toward mastery. And then once that passes, you live another 30 years, and it returns again to those same themes, but you actually live them out a little bit differently uh, between your 30s and your 60s. The first Saturn return is a little bit different from the second Saturn return, and we're going to talk about that. So let's first talk about the first Saturn return. And those of you who are experiencing or curious about your second Saturn return, this is pertinent to you too, because of course you've lived through this, and there is much wisdom that you can gain from going back and looking at what was going on at your first Saturn return. Now, what I want to say about this is you can go deeply into what it means in your astrology chart, what it means in your human design chart, and you can really go into the deep dive of that. But if you're not well versed in astrology or human design, you can just look at your life and look at the patterns and the trends that are coming up at these two turning points in your life, and you're going to learn a lot about these two passages. So in the first Saturn return, this is your passage into adulthood. And I have a little note here for myself because I wanted to make this point that this is really important if you have a 6 in your profile. So, you know, those top two sets of gates at the top of your human design chart. And hold on, I do know where my charts are today. I couldn't find them the last time. They were right on my desk. So let me just pull one out and show you what I'm talking about. Oh, I pulled a 4-6 out. That's awesome. Oops. And I hope you can see this, but for those of you who are kind of new to it, you'll see on your human design chart that there's a black side and a red side. And if you have, these are the gates. This one is like 9 in the 37 in the on the black side, which is your conscious side. That would be akin to your astrological birth imprint, the sun sign. And then the 40 on this chart is in the conscious earth. And then these are the unconscious gates on the red side, which is your imprint 3 months before your birth. If you notice, there's a little 4 up here by the 37 and 40, and then there's a little 6 on this chart that's up by the design on the design side by these gates in the conscious and unconscious, in the unconscious sun and earth. So what that means is that this person has a 4-6 profile. You can also have a 6-3 profile, 6-2 profile, 3-6 profile. Did I miss any? Let me know if I missed any. But that 6 is kind of like it sort of partitions your life experience off, because what a profile is, backing up a little bit, is it's like your learning theme. It's the way, it's the role that you live as you live your life. It's the role that you live as you fulfill your purpose in life. And it's your learning style, it's your bonding strategy, all of those kinds of things. And when you have a 6-line profile, you have up until the time that you're 30, you have an experimental trial and error way of learning. From 30 to 50, you retreat from that, and you go up on the roof in human design speak, and you do your healing, your integration, your observation of what other people are experimenting with and having trial and error with in their lives, so that you can gain the wisdom and the wholeness that you need to emerge into your purpose around 50. So for those of you who are in your first Saturn return and you have a 6-line profile, this is a significant time where you're retreating from all of the bumps and bruises that you got from making yourself a martyr to your experiences and your life experience up in your childhood and your early adulthood. You gained all of that experience to retreat and go up on the roof. So not only is it a passage into becoming a full-fledged adult, but it's also this passage into preparation for this time at around 50, where you emerge into your the fulfillment of and the blossoming of your purpose. So I have here Saturn in your birth chart points to a challenge that must be mastered to move into the next phase of your life. And this is true of both the first Saturn return and the second Saturn return. It's usually felt more strongly in the first Saturn return, because this is, this is that time where you're really moving into how do I create and organize, order, materialize my foundation for what is going to move me, what is going to support me as I mature as an adult. So that often looks like, let's see if I've got this on the, I don't think I have it on the next slide. No, I don't. That often looks like responsibility. What responsibilities am I going to take on? If you're a 6-line profile, what am I going to take somebody up on the roof with me? This is typically a time when young adults start to settle down. You may be looking at where you want to live, where you want to work, what kind of work you want to do. And especially with the people that I've been working with recently who are coming into their second Saturn return, a lot of their focus is around how can I remain true to myself and cultivate a career that's going to support me moving forward as an adult, that's going to allow me to use my gifts, to use my innate talents, to be who I am designed to be, and still, make money and feed myself and have children and, have a family and whatever is important to that person. So, this can sometimes be a really heavy time, and it's usually a time where there's a shift, that shift into settling down. Even the 6-line profiles a lot of times are settling into the mundane aspects of life. What the mundane aspects of life are, getting the paycheck, maybe buying a house, climbing up the ladder for your career, maybe going back to school to re-educate because you realize that there's something more, there's education that you could get that would put you into a position that is more fulfilling than what you're currently experiencing in your work life. Who do you are you really serious about that boyfriend or girlfriend? Do you want to spend the rest of your life with them? A lot of times this is a passage where maybe you've had a significant other in your 20s that you don't want to go move forward with, or maybe you've learned some lessons about how you want to be treated in relationship, and that person isn't treating you that way. So there are breakups. So a lot of times there's a deepening of your significant other relationships, and then you put some permanence on it, like a marriage contract or moving in together, buying property together, those kinds of things. So I don't have to tell you, if you're going through first Saturn return, what that's about, because you're living it right now, I'm pretty sure. So I just wanted to I put my first Saturn return conscious cycle chart up here just to kind of give you an idea of how we look at this in human design, because over here on the right hand, the left hand side is my chart, and then over here on the right hand side is the chart of my first Saturn return. So I was about 28 years old when my first Saturn return happened. It came in on the right angle cross of Maya, which, if I remember correctly, is all about bringing cycles to a close that are so that I can uh, so that I can live within the mind. I'm just doing this off of memory. So I remember when I read the right angle cross of Maya, it really had a lot to do with kind of settling down into into the cycles of life, and living from that perspective of something very Saturnesque, which is about living within the Maya, living life as it comes to you in the field of your environment. So what stuck out to me here is like this channel, the 5342 and the 5125. 5342 helps me to brings this energy in from my environment, from other people, where I could bring cycles to a close. And then 51, my 51 joined with the 25, which Mercury was in my 25. And this is all about being initiated into a new direction, into, in a sense, a more spiritual direction. So what was happening at the time of my first Saturn return is that I was getting out of the United States Navy and going to massage school. I had just started massage school, and I was really concerned at the time with starting this new direction that was more aligned with my inner spirit, with my expression of an alignment and experience with spirituality. So this was a big part of my life, and I can see, looking back, that there I was in the soup of all of this Saturn return. And if you what we explored in the second part of this workshop series was what's in your Saturn. And my Saturn is all about the gate 13, which for me is on an undefined sacral center, or an undefined G center. And it's all about listening to others. Who am I listening to? And that's calling out a direction in me. So it's very important for me to learn to master listening, being in a field where I'm listening to the right people, the right stories. This is hardwired to the direction of the past. So it's, making sense of my past, which I was doing a lot of at that time, and trying to figure out what happened in my 20s and how did I get here in massage school, go from the military to the massage school, in moving into my 30s, and what does that really mean? For me, it was about letting go of a lot of that past messaging that I had been conditioned with. Of course, I knew nothing about human design at that point, but there was a lot of that was happening for me during that time. So I'm just showing you this so that you can kind of get a feel for how to make sense of the energies around you at your Saturn return. And I want to make a point here for everyone who's looking at this, whether it's your first Saturn return or your second, is that these energies that come in with your Saturn return are not, they're energies that sort of activate you. But when you're working on your human design experiment, working within your human design experiment, it's really about, how do I stay true to myself while I'm working through this passage and influenced by these energies that are present, and activating certain aspects of my human experience, as I'm working on or focused upon finding my footing to move forward into my next phase of life. So they're not energies that they're not you. They're just energies that are calling something out of you, especially when you've got gates here that are connecting to some of your hanging gates as well. And again, that's a deeper nuance that we'll probably explore a little bit in our private group. And definitely, if this is the deep dive that you want to do, you can, I'm open for readings as well, private readings. And that's really where you get the most out of the learning at that deep level. But like I said, you can just look at your life to get a feel for how Saturn is affecting you and what the challenges are that you are here to work with in order to gain mastery to move forward. So for the first Saturn return, a good question to ask yourself is, what's changing and shifting in your life right now? So just look around, be present in your life, and look at these themes of responsibility, career, and also, where your challenges are really calling you, requiring you to mature. So, responsibilities, relationship, career, foundation moving forward, and how do you need to mature through these shifts and changes in your life so that you can become more resilient and navigate those changes into a successful experience of adulthood. So, and when I say, let me go back, because when I say successful experience of adulthood, I'm not talking necessarily about, having a career where you're making six figures and, the 2.5 kids or whatever people want these young people want these days, or the soulmate partner or whatever it is. I'm talking about what it is that you require so that you can move into fulfilling your purpose as you mature, fulfilling what your soul came here to contribute and experience. So a lot of times that does have a lot to do with the partner that you choose, your life partner. It has a lot to do with the occupation that you choose to pursue. It has a lot to do with where you choose to live. All of those things, and what kind of discipline is required. And I'm going to add here the discipline of your strategy and authority, because a lot of these choices are really, as Ra Uru Hu would say, no choice. that they're called out of you naturally. You're naturally moved toward these things that are going to support you when you're aligned and following your strategy and authority. So there's a discipline in that as well that brings you into maturity, that puts you on the path of the people that you are here to interact with, and the experiences that you're here to have in order for you to fulfill this purpose that's encoded in your chart. So the question, what's changing and shifting in your life right now? And I'd love for you to just go ahead and put that in the chat. I can't see the chat right now, but go ahead and put it in the chat so that we can, discuss it, and you can share it and be seen and be recognized. For projectors, that's important. So, and second Saturn return people, same thing. I'm sure you're aware that there are things that are shifting and changing in your life, and there actually may be things that you are becoming aware of that you can mature into even more in your second Saturn return. So let's go on to second Saturn return. this is your passage into eldership. And when we think of elders, we think of, I do at least. You tell me what you think elders are, how your vision of elders. But I think of, like, I see indigenous people sitting around in a circle, sharing their wisdom, providing guidance, those kinds of things, and for me personally, going through my second Saturn return, I don't really feel like a stereotypical elder. And if you saw the snippet of the reading I put up, the astrological reading that I put up for my Saturn return, my second Saturn return, you'll the person who did that reading actually talked about how there are different phases of becoming an elder. So, or a crone, I think, because we were talking in terms of women, but it's kind of the same thing. It's our passage into being able to contribute, make a contribution with our wisdom to to our community, to our tribe, to the world, however it is, because we have now lived the life, we have matured, we have had the experiences that that those that come behind us can benefit from. At this time of the second Saturn return transition, there are lifestyle adjustments that often need to be made. A lot of us are looking at how do we prepare for retirement, or are we going to retire in this day and age? What's the work that is being called out of us moving forward? How do we want to play moving forward? Although I am a projector, I have always felt in my bones that my life's work is going to continue. There's no retirement in when you're doing your soul work. That's how I feel when I'm doing what's being called out from my soul. There's no retirement in that, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to toil and struggle. And for me, like, lifestyle adjustments are really about looking at where I am physically right now, how I need to take care of myself moving forward, so that I am in the kind of shape where my life's work can continue. I can continue to contribute my wisdom as my life's work moving forward into my 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. So how do we set that up? If you're considering that question, moving forward, what kind of lifestyle adjustments and changes need to be made? Some of you may realize that it's time for you to quit your job, or you're making those retirement plans so that you can move on to a deeper experience of your life, or a more relaxed lifestyle where you can play. Recognition of limitations is another theme that comes up with second Saturn return. The recognition of, the body is getting a little bit older. It's aging, and that's a natural thing that happens when we're approaching 60, right? For women, we're no longer able to bear children naturally. I know that modern science has kind of come in and shifted that a little bit, but naturally our bodies are no longer able to bear children. There may be financial limitations based on choices that were made back choices that were made back around your first Saturn return, or things that happened between your first Saturn return and now. So there can be this sense of looking back and realizing, I don't have the vitality that I used to have. My financial life didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. There's only so many hours in the day, and there are only so many years I have left until I move on and leave this body. Those are real life second Saturn return limitations and considerations. So again, here's my second Saturn return chart, just to give you an idea of, uh, you know, what could be going, just an idea of how we look at it in human design. My second Saturn return happened under the left angle cross of revolution. This is all about looking at, what doesn't work, revolutionizing it, all of those kinds of things. Is that revolutionary kind of an energy. And it's what's being called out of me, or what I'm considering in this environment of the left angle cross of revolution, is, who do I listen to? What stories do I let go of from the past? How do I make sense of how I got here? What has come before, so that I can move forward into the next phase of my life. And a lot of what's coming forth for me, or what's being presented to me, is this 22 energy, which is about, that meets with my 12, which is about being an individual, expressing my individuality in a creative and artful way, and in a social or non-social way, those kinds of, that kind of a rhythm and a flow. The theme of community is in here, and also the theme of struggling for meaning. So not only am I watching these themes in my life, and the question is, how do I, or if you're in your second Saturn return, how do you stay true to yourself in the midst of what's going on around you, and the shifts and changes that are happening in your life? So for me, the question becomes, how do I stay true to myself in the midst of, finding meaning that allows me to express my individuality within my tribe or community? So that's how I interpret that. And then my work with the Saturn is to examine what has gone before, the stories that I've told myself in the past, the stories that I was conditioned by in the past, who I am listening to, who I have been listening to, and whether or not that truly serves me. And if it doesn't, I need to revolutionize that and move on. So that's just a quick way that I look at this. So second Saturn return questions. For those of you who don't want to go to that deeply, here are 3 questions that you can begin to consider and ponder. And this is really what we're going to discuss in our private live meeting. And there's still time if you want to get in to the Saturn series here. And if your second Saturn return, I highly recommend that you if you decide that you want to sign up, that you do the second Saturn return option, because we're going to go even deeper into exploring the themes of your second Saturn return over the months of August and September. So you can check it out here at bit.ly/Saturn Medicine. And we'll start that conversation when we turn off the public live stream. So second Saturn return, where have you been? These last 30 years, where have you been? What are the lessons and experiences that you've learned, that you've had over the past 30 years? Oh, and this shouldn't be in italics, but the question is, where are you now and what's changing? And this can also be a question that you can also fine tune this question into, where are you now and what no longer serves you moving forward. So, and that segues into question 3. How do you want to experience the third phase of your life? So we're talking about from 60 to 90 at this point. And in that, what needs to be healed, maybe, you know, in what ways do you need to in a sense mature, if there are still things that are left unmatured within your experience, what needs to be resolved, and what needs or mastered during this time. So how do you want to experience that third phase of your life? And looking at that, you know, that will kind of reveal the healing that needs to be done, the resolution that needs to happen, what needs, for in my specific example, what I need to let go of, especially my internal talk, and my internal uh, childhood conditioning and all of that. Um, and what needs to be mastered moving forward so that you set yourself up for the kind of life that you truly in your heart and soul feel that you want to experience moving forward into this third phase. So I'd love to know if you want to put in the chat there what some of that is for you. And I think we're done with these slides, and I'll check the chat. And Leanne, feel free to chat in and anything that's coming up for you as well. And let me go back here to YouTube and see where we are. Okay, there we go. Okay. So let's see. Wow. Thank you guys for participating today. I love it when you come in with your comments and stuff. Yeah, so let's see. So Carolyn says, you're not a six, she's not a sixth line, but interesting how the movement into full expression of the sixth line happens at the Chiron return. Yes, at age 50. Yes. And of course it happens for all of us, regardless of our profile, you know, that Chiron return, which is a whole other workshop. And it's something we might actually explore in the Saturn medicine, or in the second Saturn return series. So because there's a healing theme in Chiron that needs to happen in order, you know, healing often needs to happen in order to emerge into your full expression at 50. So yeah, it happens for all of us, but it's specifically, or it's particularly important for the six lines. And Carrie Lee, second Saturn return happened maybe about 18 months ago. Yeah, I would imagine so, because I know how old you are. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, hi, Leanne. You joined us on the live stream. Awesome. Recognizing childhood imprints that have created your reactions to life. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually what I'm experiencing as well. Like these childhood imprints that I'm seeing the thread of that moving through my adulthood and where I've been since my first Saturn return. For me, I've been releasing a lot of recognizing, I guess, a lot of things that I didn't recognize before as trauma and traumatic experiences from living as not myself for a long period of time. And that's coming up, and I'm tracing it back, you know. So yeah, childhood imprints, very, very important. Mike, yay, you feel 30 at 58. I'm loving that. You know, when I was 28, I felt 35 until I got out of the Navy and moved on. Now that I'm 58, I probably feel about 30 to 35. So I think that's a really great a really great gauge there for where you are. And I also feel like second Saturn return has I interpret that as like your second chance at adulthood. Like, there are limitations, there's life that's been lived, there's wisdom that's been gained, and now there's this opportunity to take what you know now, and if you're observing and really working through how you need to take care of yourself moving forward, you almost have a second opportunity to live at that age or that level where you feel like you're 30 or 35. Yeah. So, yeah, Carolyn says 13, 4, 49, 2, both in 13. Yeah, those of you who are going through second Saturn return now are that I think those are mine as well, or some. I know 13, 4 is mine. And they're on defined centers. You make a good point there, Carolyn. For those of you who are looking at your human design chart, look and see if your Saturn gate is on a defined or undefined center. If it's defined, it's you have consistent access to that theme. If it's undefined, it's inconsistent. And it can say a lot about, or give you a lot of clues about how you get conditioned as well. Feeling you're moving into the crone with listening to your inner wisdom to a greater degree and moving into a leap into self-sufficiency. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Mike says my karate teacher is 83 and is still teaching karate and does ballroom dancing. That's fantastic. I love having um, role models who are moving into that next, and in 7 years he'll be in his third Saturn return. I love having those role models. And one of the reasons why I feel that I will, that I want to keep myself vital so that I can continue to enjoy the fulfillment of my purpose, the expression of my purpose in life. And is because I had a mentor who was 96 back in my massage days, and she was a cranial osteopath, and she mentored me on craniosacral work. And she still had the massage table, or the treatment table that her uncle built her when she was in osteopathic college, and she was still seeing patients in her little trailer in Massachusetts. And it was such an inspiration to me. And I think she was actually still teaching and mentoring a core group of cranial osteopaths even when she moved into the nursing home. And I think she passed away finally when she was about 104. So that, to me, having role models moving forward, who are still vital and still making the most of their second Saturn return into their 80s and 90s is so valuable. And we can be that as we move forward. Those of us who are in our second Saturn return, we can be that for those who are moving into their first Saturn return. We can be that for people who are looking at, well, what's possible if I continue to be disciplined in being true to myself moving forward into my 60s, 70s, and 80s. Carolyn says, deep acknowledging of my 5-1 profile and moving to authentic expression of life's work. Yes. And Carrie Lee's a 5-1 as well. Yeah. Yeah. So Mike, 1-3 emo projector, PRR, DRR, cross of tension. Yeah, Carolyn, and Carrie Lee, you two need to meet. Yeah, Carolyn is a projector, and Carrie Lee, you're a manifesting generator. You two need to meet because, or at least on Facebook, find each other because your art is, I think, can be inspiring to each other. Um, Lead to self, environment, wide valleys, diet, active touch. Yeah, yeah. Just letting life flow. Absolutely, especially with the wide valleys and that passive body of you, you know, the passive body, the passive vehicle. Um, okay, so Leanne has a question. Is a transition over a period of years or within months? Well, you know, that's a really good question because your like your first Saturn return kind of colors your from your 30s to your 60s. Your second Saturn return is sort of an energy that you carry through until you're from your 60s to your 90 until you're 90. However, the transition period is it comes in a little bit before, like on the human design chart. I think they show you where it's direct, but the actual energy, according to my astrologer friend who did my astrology reading, it there's an arc, and I can't remember the degrees. 18 degrees, Carolyn, if you know what that is, like 18 degrees before you go direct, and then 18 degrees back, if that's the actual degree point. And then you kind of, she said, you kind of come back a little bit with this Saturn. It's like a whole arc of time, and it happens a little bit before. If you're reading your astrology chart or you get an astrologer to look at it, you'll probably feel when the shift starts to happen, but it happens a little bit before it actually goes direct onto the gate that where the Saturn's in at the time of your birth, and then it goes a little bit past. So I think she said for me it came in November or December of 2021, and then I will be out of this Saturn return transition in what did she say, January or February of next year of 2023. So those of you who are in second Saturn return around this time, it's probably about the same for you. And so this is like the time when the themes of Saturn are coming up for you, and that could be, you know, you can look at, and this is sort of review from the second workshop, but you can look at what house it's in, you know, the planet that it's in, or the uh what am I saying here, the house. You can look at the gate, you can you can look at you know, uh the line value of it if you're looking at your human design chart, all of that. And it's going to kind of be in your face during that range of time. So this is why it's like an optimal time if you're going through Saturn return to kind of look at this time, because the energy is up for you. But you can always, that theme is always going to kind of be there, coloring you, coloring your life experience from your 60s to your 90s, or if your first Saturn return from your 30s to your 60s. Yeah, 15 to 18. Yes. Yes. 15 to 18 degrees. So let's see. Astrology perspective, your natal Saturn sits in the first house, hard square to Sun. And your journey has been actually lighten up such harshness from childhood. Yeah, that's really deep for those of us who are armchair astrologers. So I'm really glad that you're seeing that for yourself with the first house. Yeah. Um, and yeah, 15 to 18 degrees takes Saturn 2.5 years to travel through a house. So we feel tendrils of return well before we are age 60. That is so true. Like I felt those tendrils back in early 2021. And yeah, and then I thought, oh, this is going to be a breeze because I felt really disciplined, really focused, really like I was being supported by the energy of structure and boundaries, which are very Saturn-esque themes. Productivity, those kinds of things, and then when Saturn came into that 15 to 18 degree point, and the astrologer told me when it was I looked at my life and I was like, oh yeah, that's when the crap hit the fan. That's what I really felt, the struggle. Yeah, yeah, the ground fell out, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm wondering if the ground is falling out in order for more solid ground to be built. That's what I feel as well. And is there anyone here who's going through their first Saturn return? I just am curious to know. Feel free to chat in if you like, because I'd like to know if the ground is falling out, if it feels like the ground is falling out for you, and how that looks for you. Oh yeah, the ground falling out. Yeah, and we're also collectively feeling this. Absolutely, absolutely. So, um, let's see. Yeah. Does anyone have anything else you want to add to this? Let's see. Um, so just as a recap, if you're in your first Saturn return, a good question to examine is what's changing and shifting in your life right now, and you know where do you feel like you have extra responsibilities, what's showing up that's showing you how you need to mature, and how do you stay true to yourself during these shifts and changes, where more responsibility and more maturity is being called out of you. And then for those of you in second Saturn return, where have you been? What are the lessons and experiences that you've had? And where are you now? What's changing? How do you want to experience the third phase of your life? And in order to experience that, what needs to be healed, resolved, or mastered during this time? So, switch back here. Yeah. We're also, yeah. Yeah, all the wild astrology. Carolyn, we need to get you on to talk about the wild astrology. Would you like to do that? Would you like to come on a live stream and talk about the wild astrology? Too many changes in the past. Yeah, how do you see the design Saturn? How do you see the design Saturn in our chart? I haven't really focused upon the design Saturn because it is kind of an unconscious thing to feel into. It almost is beyond words. I know that I've got it at 49. Saturn is 49 for me, and Saturn is in 49 for you as well. So how would I interpret that for myself? It's as though the body needs to settle into its principles, 49 being the gate of principles, and again let go of what doesn't serve, what's not in alignment with the principles that serve my body, my physical experience, so that I can move on into more resilience. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank Carolyn, I'll be in touch about getting you on to talk about the wild, wild astrology. So yeah. Yeah, and that is a solar, the 49 is a solar plexus gate. A lot of you who are going through Saturn return now probably have 49 on your unconscious side, on your design side. Yeah, on the solar plexus, and mine is undefined. So there's that element of, how has conditioning colored uh how is conditioning, or has my past conditioning colored what needs to be revolutionized? 5 kids and 4 marriages. What's your profile again, Mike? I forgot what your profile is. Just curious. 1-3. Wow. Wow. It's almost like, well, that's that third line, isn't it? Third line in your profile. Awesome. Okay, I am going to, oh, here, for those of you who want to check out the paid version of this, let me put that in here. And I am going to close it up here, and so that we can get on with our digging into those questions in real voice to voice conversation in our private group. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's get a message going on, a chat going on Facebook about that, because I think I really do want to have you on to talk about the wild astrology that's going on right now. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for participating in the live stream series. This was so much fun. This is actually an experiment for how I'm moving forward. Some of you know that I beta tested a membership format back 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and I'm about to relaunch it. And I'm just working with different types of ways to present content so that it's accessible, so that parts of it are free and accessible, and then other parts can be experienced within a smaller, intimate kind of a group discussion setting. And I like this format, so I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and we'll probably do some more of these types of things somewhere down the line. So thank you again, and we'll be in touch real soon. So see you guys, and I'll see those of you who are in the private group over in the Zoom room. Let's see here. I have to figure out how to get us out of here.